This first corporate bankruptcy charter was called the We the People document. Many know it today as the Constitution. If you are careful to read the grievances of the Declaration of Independence, and then read the writing of the Constitution, you will see how it was a power grab. It was not a fight for independent freedom, since the very grievances in the declaration of war were rights given to the government over the American people. We the people did not stand for people who live on the land, but rather sovereign, wealthy constitutors of the contract. Those who sign the Constitution are the only ones who are party to it. This is basic contract law and has been upheld by the Supreme Federal Courts. Those who oversaw the implementation of the bankruptcy were called constitutors, and still are known as this today. They pledged the states and the land that they held as collateral for the debt to the banks that financed the revolution. The We the People group of wealthy Americans protected themselves and their wealth by pledging the land that they and all other Americans live on. What is essential for everyone to understand is that this is a hybrid corporation. It uses trust law to make business with corporate fictions, the military-industrial complex, and international banks. The beneficiaries of this trust are every single worker, boss, and Anglo-Saxon commercial fiction doing business in this corporate trust. When the bankruptcy was finishing up leading up to the War of 1812, the corporation, reorganized by President Jackson, this created an unlikely byproduct, a new term called a free man. People are now, for the first time in all of history, free of debt. Needing a way to continue collection, the king's corporations and the factions within the American corporate structure sought a new way to leech the American plantation workers and return them to serfdom. So after 100 years of weak central corporate structure, the Civil War came about to unite the states, or corporations, trusts, and commonwealths, into a one unified corporation. All power would be centralized with one authoritarian central corporate structure. Unintended consequences of the Civil War was the liberty of the slaves. The corporate plantations of America, of which many in the North began to industrialize, sought a new way to enslave men on their plantations. The 14th Amendment to the original Bankruptcy Compact was passed after a new constitution was accepted by the king after the Civil War. In order for the corporate fiction overlords to be able to do business in admiralty contract law, the corporation can only do business with other fictional corporations. So they came up with a genius plan to make free men, which were unpleasant byproducts of the original Bankruptcy Compact, enter into contracting agreements with the corporation. In order for this to happen, there had to be a crisis. 1929, the stock market crashed. As the dire financial circumstances of the corporation became clear, it went to bankruptcy again, where they pledged as collateral for the debt, since all the wealth and land was already pledged, all futures of energy that will one day be produced by the plantations and its slaves could be traded as debt instead of real money. The bankers, corporate overseers, and profiteers designed a new trust program where every single human would be entered into a corporate military-industrial complex through the Social Security system. This system is the basic structure of how the world government will implement control over the world plantation. Since 1933, when born, parents are asked to sign a birth certificate pledging ownership and creating a corporate fiction for the new labor worker, now known as a 14th Amendment citizen, entering the slave plantation. Before the baby can touch land, their foot is stamped on a certificate making them surety for the debt. First, the certificate is recorded at the county recorder. Then they send it to the Secretary of State, which sends it to the Bureau of Census of the Commerce Department. This allows the child to now become an instrument of debt for the corporation. technically a trust instrument of a 14th Amendment freed slave. This certificate is valued around $1 million and is circulated through the markets as collateral for debt on loans. This person becomes a fictional persona in commerce. This position requires that once this corporate fiction becomes matured in the market, it would have to sign a new contract with the corporate trust pledging to hold a post within the military-industrial corporation. This is what the actual purpose of the Selective Service is. Every 14th Amendment citizen is holding a post within the military. If you do not believe this, please look up USA government and U.S. Army Duns and Bradstreet numbers. Notice the amount of employees are exactly the same. In order for the color of law contract to be viable and hold ground, the parents have to acknowledge the baby came through a birth canal and requires a birth certificate to dock with the corporation and do business. The parents have 3 days under the Truth in Lending Act to rescind their signatures, and the mother is named with her maiden name to ensure the child is considered a bastard child. Once a bastard child, they lose all rights to the corporation. Think about it. A berth is when a ship docks to do commerce. A birth canal is where the ship passes to the dock. And a birth certificate happens to be the paperwork filed when a merchant is claiming the product stored on a ship. The product of the ship is all future energy produced in commerce. Now these corporations, townships, and fascist governments have more employees working for them than within the free market. Essentially, there has never been a free market. This is why the corporate overlords always blame the free market, because they are referring to the industrialized militarism they have installed in America and around the world for hundreds of years. All government workers are given pensions, which Wall Street and the banks invest into major corporations such as Walmart, Kmart, GM, and GE, plus many others. These corporations are too big to fail because the banks invest the future retirement of pensions of all government workers into these companies. This is why, no matter what, some of these corporations just don't fail. They have investors within their company who don't even know what they are investing in. These employees and beneficiaries of the trust corporation know they are guaranteed a retirement or a future benefit from their corporate overlords. What should happen if the future is erased? Or like the fictions that operate under color of law, they are realized for being fake and make-believe. The biggest thing for people to realize is that the New World Order is not something new. This has been an experiment of control of energy and productivity of slaves on a big plantation called the United States of America. There was a plan from the beginning to make the whole world a plantation. Now that the third bankruptcy is over, the military-industrial plantation of America has merged with other corporations to install governments or corporate fictional overlords in each and every plantation on Earth. They are creating one big plantation, one which none of us can escape. So please, before you argue anymore, do some research. Here's the door. Open it if you like. Welcome, my friends, to the Big Plantation.